Joining us on the line, NFL Hall of Famer Dwight Freeney. We'll just start right there. Congratulations. It's official now. You're officially in the Hall of Fame. How does it feel? Because I feel like everyone would talk about you as future Hall of Famer, but now you officially got that title. Walk us through. That's got to feel great. Get the official notice.
Oh my goodness. It absolutely feels great. It's one of those things where, you know, you like to control things that you don't worry about things that you can control. And last year, not making it was so hard on me. It was, and the thing is, it was just kind of one of those things where I get it. There's a lot of great players, and I had the blinders on, and I was trying to stay focused on everything else. Hall of Famers came up to me, Jason Taylor, Michael Strahan, all these guys said, "Hey, you're a shoo-in. Don't even worry about it. First ballot. Congratulations."
Oh, no.
Now. So when I didn't make it, I was absolutely rushed. I was just like, oh, what did I do to deserve this? And then the second year, I promise you, this year, I did not know who was a semifinalist, a finalist. I barely realized it was time for that to happen if it wasn't for a few interviews that I did. And obviously, when they told me, I mean, I don't care like how much you try to prepare for that feeling or that moment, but you get rushed with emotion, and it's just like you can't even believe that you're a Hall of Famer.
No, I mean it's completely awesome. As someone who's visited the Hall of Fame, like if you're a football fan, you go there, you walk around. It has like a spiritual feeling when you're walking around those rooms with those statues. I don't know, like I was feeling something. I'm just a guy who's watched the game. I can only imagine someone whose entire life it was. I gotta know though, do you talk to the guy making the bust? Are you able to give him some tips on like, hey, make sure my chin goes this way? Like, do you talk to him? Cause you want to make sure they get that right.
Just don't mess it up. No,
yeah.
No, actually he's a great guy. Ben, I'm actually going to see him on Monday. I'm flying out to Utah, and they have all this crazy, 39 points on your face, with like they do all types of measurements. So I'm gonna go out there, make sure they got it right. Try to still figure out what my expression is gonna be.
Yeah.
Because, it was one of those things where, like, okay, I'm on the smile, you look mean, right? You only have two. But when you go into that Hall of Fame bus room, the one that you're probably referring to, and you see all of the heads, and you sit there and you're like, there is so many different expressions. And now I walked out of that room completely confused. So I got to figure out what I'm going to do. Because I guess about 3 days here.
It's so funny. I never thought of that. Cause if you have like a big smile, it's one thing, but then you're a badass pass rusher. Do you go mean face?
Exactly.
Like, what do you do?
It's one of those things where it's different when you're taking a picture.
Yeah.
You take a picture, you got a million other pictures that's going to follow it.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about this one. When I'm gone, dead and gone, this thing is going to be sitting there. And I got to make sure that it looks right, so whenever that kid or whoever walks in, it's looking the way that it's supposed to look.
It's literally in stone. And honestly, the problem for dudes is most guys, they accessorize their pictures with their hands.
Yeah.
There's a point going on. There's like there's a boxing fist. And so, I will say though, there's like Sean mentioned, there is something you do notice it, like the expression kind of captures you. And so, good luck with that, man. I'm sure whatever you choose will be right, but a lot of pressure.
Yeah, pray for me. I'm trying to figure it out.
No, that's going to be fun next time we're out there, seeing you officially in there with all the other NFL greats. What about, obviously you're playing in this invited celebrity classic, always got to be pretty exciting. We're always rooting for people. I'm an Eagles fan, co-host is a Giants fan. We're always rooting for people to knock off Tony Romo, who seemingly kind of owns these things. Are you going to be the one, Dwight, to maybe take down Tony Romo in this year's tournament?
Absolutely not. If we're talking about off the golf course, I got you.
Yeah.
All right. But we're talking about on the golf course, there isn't a chance. Those quarterbacks, man, they cheat, man. And when I say they cheat, they're playing golf during the football season.
Yeah.
Okay. Those guys don't have any hips in their way. all their shoulders are all kind of aligned and skinny like these golfers. When you're a defensive lineman, offensive lineman, like my hands going this way, my fingers going the other way, my shoulders all jacked up. I can't play golf the entire season.
Yeah.
All right. So when I'm getting my rounds in, it's at the end of the season, maybe 2 months after, once my body heals up. So then I only play for 2 months. It's a completely different ball game. But yeah, Romo's obviously going to be up there. He's a great player.
Well, we can relate to you. That's the everyman's golf game. You show up to the course, you hope it's working that day, and if not, maybe a cocktail.
Yes,
that's it.
Crack open a couple cold ones. Hope for the best. I know we'll be rooting there for you. Now, what about the modern game? Who I know you watch the NFL, still keep up with it. Who as a pass rusher right now is someone like, who are your top pass rushers right now in the NFL?
I mean, there's a lot of good ones right now. I think because of just the evolution of the game. I think there's a lot more passes now and more pass dominant game. And the guys that I love to watch, I sit there and get excited when I see Myles Garrett rush the passer. The fact that he's so large, so big of a man, but he's able to bend the way that he does, like he's a smaller guy. That is amazing to me, how he can get the corner. He uses spin moves. I'm sitting there watching it. I'm like, oh, this is a beautiful thing. And he also can play both sides. I love him. Micah Parsons is another guy from just a energy standpoint. Just his effort level is relentless. He's just doesn't take a play off. He plays every play like it's the last. And the way that they move him around, he goes from guard. He'll play against over the center. He'll go on the other side. That's not easy to do. It's like, people don't understand when you play different sides. It's like if you're a right-handed writer trying to write with your left hand. It just doesn't, I can make it out, but it won't be the same. Some of these guys do a great job of playing both. And obviously you got TJ Watt because he has that spin move, speed to power combo going on. So I think those three guys are my favorites.
Well, and you were kind of ahead of the game with the speed game, and I think you ran a 4.4 coming out of school. But going back into college, I was at Virginia Tech when we were both part of the Big East back in the day. So I was there when you completely ruined our season in 2001. But I'm going to take you to 2000, where you were able to sack Michael Vick 4.5 times in a single game. Yeah. You talk about how the modern game's evolved. That's what we're seeing a lot more of. So, I mean, take us back to your time at Syracuse, but more importantly, how did it feel to get Mike down on the ground for 4.5?
Man, I don't know what came over me that game. I think that offensive tackle is still in his stance today. That's how I feel. That's how fast I was.
We're going to have him up next on the guest line.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he didn't have chance, man. I was flying out of that stance. I feel like the earth was moving as I was coming around that corner in the Carrier Dome with the turf. But it was one of my best games. Unfortunately for us, we were playing Michael Vick and they still won the game. But we played them as tough as we possibly could. And I had one of the better games that I've ever had.
Well, and it's a weird nugget about that, Matt, because the next year, if you don't know, Syracuse came to Blacksburg, ruined what was a really good season for Virginia Tech up until that point. Both games ended 22-14. It was kind of a home steal. But also, like you mentioned, the pop off the turf. You ended up playing for a team that played on turf in the NFL too. That definitely helped your game in terms of the get off, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm paying for it because I played so much turf. My ankles and my knees and my hips are killing me right now. But for a guy who's predicated on speed, and that is his main deal, being able to get off the ball, that's my thing. Now, if you have to change the ground where it's rainy or snow, I'm going to have to alter my game. Now, I'm not 290 pounds fighting double team type of guy. So, advantage goes maybe to the other side. But when you have some good conditions and you have a turf where you can just kind of burn the corner, good luck offensive tackle.
Well, and I can tell you as a football fan, like I can close my eyes and see you rushing around the corner because it always was that perfect bend curve.
Oh,
and
yes.
Then
I mean,
forced fumble.
Oh, forced fumble. I remember, Dwight, your debut as an Eagles fan because you stripped Donovan McNabb 3 times in a game. And I'm like, well, can no one block this kid? What's going on?
Yeah, it was
Syracuse
awesome.
on Syracuse crime. That must have felt pretty good after that game.
Orange on orange crime. It was definitely something to remember. That was the first game I ever started. And I had a huge impact in the game.
Oh, I know.
Yeah,
I was on the other
awesome,
side
man.
going, how is it the same guy?
It is 3 forced fumbles. It's kind of like, and I will say this. What people need to do, to be quite honest with you, is a forced fumble. The magnitude of a forced fumble should be on the same level as an interception.
Yeah,
and it
100%.
should be looked at that way. A lot of you get the ball back for your offense, right? And most times you get those forced fumbles on the other side of the line of scrimmage, which gives your offense a better field position. All right, so you got guys like my boy Robert Mathis, who's led the league in the history of the game in forced fumbles. He needs to be in the hall.
Yeah,
right? Those guys need to be there.
You guys were menaces. So modern day guys, they're starting to think maybe it's a number thing. To your point, the interceptions flashier, the number looks better. If you were playing today, would you look at maybe a number 0 like a Brian Burns, or get one of those skinny numbers going to make yourself look even faster?
Oh man, I'm gonna leave the skinny numbers to the skinny guys. All right, we call them the pencil necks. Those little guys running around with the small little necks,
I like
the receivers and all those guys. I'll leave those numbers to them. All right, I want the 93. I like the trenches. I'm old school like that. That's just me.
100%. We just mentioned Syracuse. I would love to know, you were there, Jim Boeheim, legendary basketball coach. Did your number ever ring? Did he ever give you a call and be like, "Hey, Dwight, ever consider playing a little basketball?" Did he ever try and get you on the court? I mean, if I'm Boeheim, I'm like, this guy can get some rebounds out there.
Man,
super athletic.
There ain't many 6'1" power forwards in the NBA, or definitely not in the college.
That's true.
That's when I had to give it up. When in high school, I was sitting there. I was like a miniature Charles Barkley, but without the offense. Let's just call it like a Dennis Rodman.
Yes.
Great defense. Trust me, I was one of the best at fouling out in the third quarter. No one couldn't believe it. But I wasn't going to play anywhere past that. I didn't. My jumper was mediocre at best. In a practice, never mind the game. I had no chance.
Well, you mentioned mediocre jumper. I know you're good buddies, really good friends with a guy with an all-time jumper, of course, Michael Jordan. And I was clicking around on it. You played a ton of golf with him, and apparently there's this like kind of secret clubhouse with a bunch of former athletes, like a private course. How awesome is it playing golf with Jordan on a course like that? That's got to be great, right?
Yeah, it's an awesome experience. He's one of my good friends, best friends, and I've been blessed to be in that presence of that type of guy, that type of competitor, that type of person. The club that we play is the Grove, which is the hat here.
Oh, nice.
And that's his course. That is a private course, and there's a lot of guys who come in town that are our members and from different places. But it's a good spot. It's really about the atmosphere and the experience. It's just, hey, just only rule there is just play fast. Don't be a jerk. That's about it.
Yeah, Ryan, if we ever get invited, I'm going to be playing incredibly fast on that course. I'm not going to be spending a lot of time looking for my ball.
And I'm going to accept every bet that's offered to me.
Yes. If Jordan wants to play, whatever it is, we've had
double or nothing done.
We've had Jim McMahon on who was saying like, yeah, Jordan wanted to play for a lot of money, and he's like, hey, I'm quarterback of the Bears, but I'm not Jordan money. Does what kind of, you guys get a little side action playing?
Well, me and him, thank God for me, we're partners 99% of the time.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
So I don't have to deal with the wrath of the betting from that perspective. I'm riding the horse.
Well, that's great too, because there's nothing better than playing with a partner who is just relentlessly getting in the other team's head with bigger bets on each hole. That's beautiful.
Well, and even just golfing, I gotta imagine there's some intimidation of like, hey, I'm going up against Michael Jordan. I was reading that you played with Lawrence Taylor, and I know Ryan, a Giants fan, I certainly admire Lawrence Taylor. That's got to be a lot of pressure, just even playing with a guy like LT on the golf course.
Kidding me? It was terrifying. The first time I ever played with LT was in 2003 at Michael Jordan's Invitational Golf event. All right, I was a guy that cried when Lawrence Taylor retired. I was a huge Giants fan, die hard. So the very first time I meet my idol in football, my football idol is on a golf course where I can barely hit the ball normally on normal conditions. Now I'm sitting there at Michael Jordan's Invitational with people in the stands. You got thousands watching on TV, and I'm meeting Lawrence Taylor for the first time. I had no chance. I think the first swing, the ball went about I did like a trick shot. It was like the ball on the driver went like 3 feet.
Oh, no.
Like, how do you hit a ball off a tee 3 feet? It's just, he just looked at me, shook his head, and that round, and he was my partner. So he had to rely on me. From this day, he still calls me a hacker.
Well, it's like, Dwight Freeney. I remember that one drive. Yeah, that's got to stick in his mind.
Well, and just based on the stories you hear about LT and his love of the golf game, I'm sure he was probably trying to coach you up at some point.
No way, he was just he's shaking his head like, "Are you gonna do anything? The whole entire round, young boy, are you gonna do anything?"
Well, and that's got to be terrifying just in general. Just any amateur golfer with fans. Like I think about that when there's someone like 100 yards down range where I'm like, that feels a little risky. These guys are 10 feet from you. Ever had a close call?
You know what? No close calls.
Nice.
The thing is, in the end, you just got to know where to stand.
Yeah.
You just got to know where to stand.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. No. I mean, yeah. I would imagine that's one of the harder transitions, going from playing with your buddies on the course to playing in front of a gallery where there is that crowd.
Man,
that's got to amp it up, right?
People don't understand it's not as easy as it looks.
Yeah.
All right. Because people are sitting there watching. And if you have any type of feeling of weakness in your golf game, especially the feel stuff, the hard stuff is okay. You can hit a driver and people are watching, like, I can just swing hard and it's going to go where it's going to go. But when you have to do a nice feel, touchy shot, something that's real gentle, and you have a whole gallery just staring at you to make sure you're doing it right.
No, thank you.
Yeah, that's going to be tough.
Let me bring out the putter. All right, the putter from 60 yards. Just putt it all the way up there.
Well, you know what they say: if you can putt it, you should putt it.
Yeah, our buddy takes that literally. He's putting from like 80 yards out. He's like, I don't want to use my wedge.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
I don't know if you can do that, but
he knows what I'm feeling. He knows what I'm feeling.
We let it go. Well, Dwight, really appreciate the time, and we'll be rooting for you coming up this weekend. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you for having me.